Is it true that Muslims are allowed by the Quran to deceive any and all unbelievers, that is, all human beings who are not followers of Muhammad, when the Muslims are in a weaker position?
It was Muhammad who 1400 years ago unilaterally declared total war against all those who do not believe as he did, the unbelievers. He asserted repeatedly that the most important and fundamental art of war is deception. Hence Taqiyah, after a passage from the Quran, is the Muhammadan Muslim doctrine and practice of self-protection, religious dissimulation, concealment, disguise, deception, subterfuge, whereby it is considered acceptable to conceal one's true beliefs and even identity in the face of perceived adversity. The above definition must be clearly explained. First, the concealment of one's beliefs does not mean an abandonment of these beliefs. The distinction between concealment and abandonment must be clearly understood. Second, the word beliefs and/or convictions does not necessarily mean religious beliefs and/or convictions only. Let us look at the Taqiyah according to the Sunnis. Some Sunnis assert that al-Taqiyah is an act of pure hypocrisy that serves to conceal the truth and reveal that which is the exact opposite of the truth. Furthermore, according to those Sunnis, al-Taqiyah constitutes a lack of faith and trust in Allah, because the person who conceals his beliefs to spare himself from imminent danger is fearful of humans, when in fact he should be fearful of Allah only. As such, this person is a coward. Let us now look at Sunni sources in support of al-Taqiyah. The following exposition will demonstrate the existence of al-Taqiyah in the Quran, Hadith, Muhammad, as well as his companions' custom. As usual, Sunni books will be used to further the argument. This is in keeping with our commitment to reveal the truth by showing that the Sunnis reject the Shia arguments, while their own books are replete, full, with the same ideologies that the Shia uphold. It is in similitude of the pot calling the kettle black. Although some Wahhabis staunchly argue their aforementioned statements and aggressively defame the Shia and refute their doctrines, they have failed to explain the validity of their argument vis-à-vis the existence of these same doctrines in their own books. Those who think that they are the true protectors of the Sunnah of Muhammad and the only guardians of the Islamic faith, how can they explain their own rejection of that which they are supposed to protect? Rejecting al-Taqiyah is rejecting the Quran, as will be shown. Reference 1. Jalal al-Din al-Suyuti in his book Al-Durr al-Manthur fil Tafsir al-Ma'thur narrates Ibn Abbas, who is the most renowned and trusted narrator of tradition in the sight of the Sunnis, regarding his opinion of al-Taqiyah in the Quranic verse, Surat Ali Imran 3.28. Let not the believers take for friends or helpers unbelievers, rather than believers. If any do that, in nothing will there be help from Allah, except by way of precaution that you may guard yourselves from them. Tattaqu. But Allah cautions you, tuqatan, to remember himself, for the final goal is to Allah. That Ibn Abbas said, al-Taqiyah is with the tongue only. He who has been coerced into saying that which angers Allah, and his heart is comfortable, that is, his true faith has not been shaken, then saying that which we has been coerced to say will not harm him at all, because al-Taqiyah is with the tongue only, not the heart. Reference 2. Ibn Abbas also commented on the above verse as narrated in Sunan al-Bayhaqi and al-Hakim's Mustadrak by saying, al-Taqiyah is the uttering of the tongue, while the heart is comfortable with faith, which means that the tongue is permitted to utter any untruth in a time of need, as long as the heart is not affected and one is still a believer. Reference 3. Abu Bakr al-Razi in his book Ahkam al-Quran, Volume 2, page 10, has explained the aforementioned verse by affirming that al-Taqiyah should be used when one is afraid for life and or limb. In addition, he has narrated that Qatada said with regards to the above verse, it is permissible to speak words of unbelief when al-Taqiyah is mandatory. When the followers of Muhammad are in a weak position vis-à-vis the unbelievers, or even other sects of Islam, or threatened and cannot defend themselves, they are then allowed to do whatever is expedient to survive, even if it meant breaking every prohibition in the Quran. The doctrine of Taqiyah allows the followers of Muhammad to become short or long-term sleepers, to use deception, misinformation, disinformation, plant seeds of discord and sedition, and all other manners of lies to bring about the collapse of the entity being subverted, which is of course the government of the unbelievers, so that the Muslims can take over with minimum opposition or losses. It saves them from having to become martyrs for their faith. In today's terms, for instance, the followers of Muhammad put forth the following lies and misinformation: that jihad is actually the struggle of the spirit, that the extremists are the aberration and not the norm, that fundamentalists do not represent true Islam, that Islam is a religion of peace, even though almost 95% of all of today's world conflicts and acts of terror are instigated and perpetrated by Muslims, that Islam is a tolerant religion, when in fact all the unbelievers are not allowed to publicly and freely express their religious beliefs anywhere in almost 50 Islamic states in the world, that Islam is pro-democratic, when neither the women in Islam nor other non-believers are allowed even a semblance of freedoms or the rights of the dignity of man under the recognized and universal human rights charter, etc., etc. In the present day, just as they did in the past, fundamentalist Muhammadan Muslims use this theological loophole as a means of infiltration and subterfuge to absolve Muslim terrorists and members of suicide squads from looking like observant Muslims, so as to be able to blend among the populace of the nations they are targeting and not cause suspicion or attention to be paid to them. This process allows the Muhammadans, who are absolved of all wrongdoing, to temporarily bend to foreign authority, and are even allowed to make terms with it for as long as they are weak, until such time that they can overthrow or destroy it. The principle of Taqiyah allows the ignorant Western and or unbeliever statesman to fall into the deadly trap of trusting the words, the signature, or any form of agreement made with a Muslim. He neither realizes nor conceives that all these procedures and agreements are totally meaningless, since the signatory to the agreement, the Muhammadan Muslim, has absolutely no intention of honoring them in the long run. They are only a means to an end, that is, the end of the gullible non-believer who signed them. When dealing with a Muslim statesman or diplomat, the real issue is not what he says or means, but actually what he intends to do in his heart, which is of course unfathomable. Muhammad repeatedly asserted that deception is one of the best strategies of waging war. We in the Western democracies and everywhere else in the world who are unbelievers are being deceived, subverted, and slowly destroyed from within and without by the followers of Muhammad, because our leaders do not comprehend or understand those they are dealing with.